What are you doing?
I'm just having a little fun with Ira.
What do you mean?
Oh, come on. You know we're not having a Christmas party this year. Oh, sorry. Can't say Christmas. Gotta say holiday. Psst, what a bunch of crap.
What does any of that have to do with Ira?
Ira is Jewish.
There's a news flash.
Well, I'm guessing that he complained about us celebrating Christmas in the hospital. You know how he complained about that cartoon I had?
Jim, that cartoon was pretty bad. If I were Jewish, I would have been offended.
It was a joke. So what, now we can't joke about anything? We can't decorate for Christmas? And now we're not having a Christmas party?
So what are you gonna do? Force him to convert?
No. Just gonna mess with him a little bit until he stops complaining. Happy holidays, Ira?
Just what is harassment? Federal and state laws govern it, court rulings constantly redefine it. But many people are still confused about what harassment really is or isn't. Today you'll learn about the concept of harassment, how to recognize if it's happening in your workplace, and how to prevent it from happening at all. If we're all aware of what harassment looks and sounds like, we can cut it off at the source and end the pain and frustration that many victims feel.
All of my friends growing up celebrated Christmas, so I kind of did too by proximity. I wouldn't care if the facility put a Christmas tree in every nurse's station. And we didn't have a party this year because of the budget. But I can't say that to Jim because he'll make some comment about how I should know about money. Jews always know about the money. He just won't leave it alone. Every week I gotta deal with something from him, and I kind of wonder how far he'll go.
Harassment is
when someone bothers another person.
It's doing stuff to offend someone.
I don't think harassment is one joke, but if you kept telling jokes or saying things all the time that made someone else uncomfortable, that would be harassment.
Most people are familiar with the idea that harassment is when someone openly bullies, threatens, or even terrorizes another person. But harassment doesn't have to be that obvious. Harassment is often subtle, and it doesn't have to be done on purpose. In fact, most of us don't consciously harass others. Sometimes we think our actions are harmless or even helpful to another person.
This is pretty exciting. I can't believe they assigned the whole project to us.
Hey, maybe they're looking at us for promotions.
Okay, well, before we get promoted, we need to do the work.
And Laura, you were going to make a task list?
Yep, I got it right here. Okay, this is a big one. The first thing we need to do is send 2 people out into the field, visit the managers at the sites, get their input.
I'll do it.
I'd like to do that.
Frank, hey, don't sweat it. It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of traveling around. I don't mind.
Yeah, and you've earned the right not to have to do the dirty work anymore.
I like the dirty work.
Okay, next big one. We need to set up a communications plan. I think I want to work on this.
Yeah, I can help you on that. When I first came here, we had a very similar project.
How long ago was that?
34 years.
Did they have computers then?
Actually, no.
You're kidding.
Well, Frank, I think Trevor might be better on this. He has a lot of experience with different types of technology. Frank, it's nothing personal, but communications have really changed.
I always thought age gave you an advantage. You got experience, you've seen the world. But over the last couple of years, I've been told over and over again that I'm useless. Oh, sometimes it's subtle, but the message is still clear. It's just not true, but if they keep me from doing anything important, how am I supposed to prove to people that I'm still valuable? I'm angry that this seems to be the way my career is going to end.
Put simply, in the workplace, harassment is when people are treated inappropriately because they belong to a protected group. What are these groups? Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 forbids discrimination based on a person's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Other federal and state laws protect people on the basis of things such as age, disability, or sexual orientation.
I think harassment is when you treat someone different, like they're not as good as you.
I know someone who was harassed so much, she ended up quitting. She couldn't focus on her work anymore.
In order for actions to be considered harassment, they must create a hostile work environment. A hostile environment results from behavior that is offensive and ongoing. Telling one inappropriate joke might not be good common sense, but it's generally not harassment. However, if the joke or other action is offensive enough, you could be reprimanded or even fired. You might be asking who gets to say whether something is offensive or not. The reasonable person standard exists to answer this question.
Hey, nice sweater. You've been working out.
Would a reasonable person consider the behavior out of bounds? A person's comments or actions may not be intended to harass, but if those actions had the reasonable effect of making the victim feel uncomfortable, humiliated, embarrassed, or unsafe in their working environment, it could be ruled by a court as harassment.
Sumathy.
Yes, Dave.
Hey, I hear all your relatives got new jobs. Yeah, I heard they shipped another 10,000 jobs to India. I hope you're getting a commission. It's what we call humor in the United States.
They received the shipment, but they weren't all in there. So now they have to go back to the supplier to find out what happened. I'm sure they're going to act like they have no idea what happened.
Please, one moment, Becky. I'm not understanding. Who is they?
Look, Sumathy, you're going to have to learn English if you're going to work here.
But you are using they for many people and things.
That's because they is a noun.
A pronoun.
Whatever. She doesn't even speak English good.
Why don't you go back where you came from?
These people are reminding me every day that I'm not like them. They are making the conditions for me to work here very difficult. I am a good employee. I work very hard. This is becoming too much. I've done nothing to make them treat me this way, except being born in India.
What do you think? Did Sumathy's co-workers create a hostile work environment? As you just saw, harassment is unproductive. At minimum, the victim is distracted. At worst, harassment can prevent someone from focusing on their job at all. And in some cases, they decide to leave. Think about it this way. A workplace that tolerates harassment finds out sooner or later that the organization pays for it. Harassment is expensive. First, there's the large expense of dealing with a lawsuit. But even if there's no legal action taken, the expenses are still high. Production decreases, morale suffers, and employee turnover increases. These costs are hard to measure, but they definitely affect the bottom line. Let's look at another scenario.
What'd you do last night?
I watched that shark show. You guys see that? It was insane.
Nah, my girlfriend was watching some queer guy show and wouldn't let me change it.
Oh, you're talking about that show where all those homos come to your house and redecorate everything, including you? You seen this?
No, I think I'd remember it.
Yeah, no kidding. Scarred me for life.
I had to leave the room. It was making me sick. They were all over this guy like a giant T-bone.
That's disgusting, man.
If one of those guys touched me, I'd make him regret the day he was born.
Hey, by the way, did you guys hear that one about the 2 interior decorators that were stranded on a desert island?
No.
It's a lot of fun being gay in a place like this. Look, I know that there are a lot of people out there who don't believe that being gay is okay, and I can live with that. I just think that they should keep those opinions to themselves when they're at work. If they found out I was gay, I'd be an outcast. Wouldn't matter that they respect me now for being a hard worker. That would all change. All I ask is that people treat each other with some amount of respect.
It comes down to treating people the way you want to be treated.
Maybe it's about treating people the way they want to be treated.
I think we can avoid harassment if we all just treat each other with respect. I mean, how hard is that?
Harassment is about respect. Every workplace should be a place where people feel safe and respected. Now, no one is saying you have to like everything about a person, but you should honor the fact that they're here to do a job. It's not just management's responsibility to create this kind of positive work environment. You play an important part too. Take a minute and think about your past actions and the actions of your coworkers.
Did you hear about the 3 religious truths?
Do you remember a time when someone told a joke or did something that seemed to offend someone? Everyone likes jokes, but not everyone likes the same jokes. 2 employees might enjoy telling off-color jokes to each other. That's not harassment. But if one of the people finds the jokes offensive, or if a third party hears the jokes and is offended, then that can lead to harassment. It's best to avoid off-color humor in the workplace. Even if you think you understand your coworker's sense of humor, you just never know when something you meant to be funny is going to be taken the wrong way.
You know why Jared was gone for a month last year? He was put in an institution.
You mean he's crazy?
They say he's bipolar, got some multiple personalities or something. He's got to take his pills every day or he'll lose it.
Well, is he fixed? Because I gotta work with him all next week.
Who knows? I mean, maybe he'll get the work done faster with a bunch of personalities. Oh, he's like the woman in that movie. The one, you know, with all the personalities.
Oh,
oh, Sybil. Yes. Oh, God, you're so bad.
What do you want me to say? They're jerks. They treat me like a monster. People talk about me behind my back every day. I have a chemical imbalance. I'm not deaf. Idiots. Some days it just doesn't seem worth it. I didn't choose to be like this. I'd give anything to fit in. You know, just be like everybody else.
Harassment is painful to its victims. It's human nature to want to fit in. No one likes to be singled out for negative reasons. Remember what it felt like to be teased in school? If you were like me, sometimes you just wanted to melt into the ground. And sometimes you wanted to scream at your attackers, but mostly you just wanted to be like the popular kids. Later, you might have learned that your differences are what make you who you are. But what if the teasing kept going into your work life? Or what if you're finding out for the first time in your life what it feels like to be the outcast? If you're being harassed, you have the responsibility to do something about it. If you're offended by someone's comments or actions, talk to them. Tell them the specific behaviors that bothered you and ask them to stop. If the behavior continues or if you don't feel comfortable approaching the person, talk to your human resources manager or follow your company's guidelines for reporting harassment. An investigation should follow. You should never be punished for making a truthful complaint, and you shouldn't face revenge from your harasser. If you think you were the offender and bothered someone else, apologize to that person and make sure you don't do it again. There's one type of harassment we haven't discussed yet: sexual harassment.
People think only women get sexually harassed, but it can happen to men too.
I thought sexual harassment was something that happened in 1970, not today. I guess I was naive.
Although awareness has increased in the workplace, sexual harassment still exists. There are two kinds of sexual harassment. The first, and by far the most common kind, is hostile environment. This occurs when constant sexual comments, jokes, cartoons, or images create an offensive atmosphere that affects the victim's ability to do their work. The second kind of sexual harassment, which is called quid pro quo, is more obvious but much less common. Quid pro quo revolves around a tangible employment action, such as when a superior offers an economic or job benefit to an employee in return for a sexual favor. It can also occur when a superior punishes an employee for refusing to go along with a sexual request. An example of this kind of harassment is when a supervisor tells an employee that accepting a date will ensure a pay raise. One quid pro quo incident by itself is enough to be considered sexual harassment.
Oh, man. Did you look at that? What I wouldn't give to be her sweater.
You wouldn't know how to act. I bet you Danny could give you a few pointers, though.
That dog. When did they hook up?
Last Friday. Said she was drunk as a skunk when he saw her at O'Flanagan's downtown.
Well, spill it, man. I want to hear all the nasty details. Oh, come on, Stace. Don't act like you never had sex.
We're all adults here.
You know what? Some of us aren't adults. Some of us are teenage boys still stuck in the locker room. They make me feel so... They make me sick. Like women are just things you use for sex. It's like they think I'm one of the guys, so I get to hear all their trash. Lucky me, huh? Well, I'm not going to listen to it anymore. Trouble is I gotta work with these guys all the time. So I guess I gotta invest in some earplugs.
Stacy wasn't the object of Mel and Teddy's comments, but she doesn't have to be in order to be offended by them. Third parties to offensive comments or actions have filed hostile environment lawsuits over what has occurred around them. Now you know that harassment can happen between co-workers and between a manager and employee. But it can also happen between an employee and a client, customer, independent contractor, or visitor to the company. You should report harassing conduct from non-employees just as you would report a co-worker's. Many people want to know the bottom line about things. So what's the bottom line about harassment? If a behavior is not appropriate somewhere else, like at church, at your kid's school, or at dinner with your mom, then it's probably not appropriate for the workplace. So, now that we've talked about harassment, what do you think it is?
Harassment is a power play.
Harassment is an obvious attempt to intimidate someone.
Could be kind of subtle, like constant jokes, little acts of sabotage.
It's unfair.
It's about deciding to treat people equally. Or not.
To prevent harassment in your workplace, respect each person. Think before you speak. Report all incidents of harassment and apologize if you offend someone. And remember, something you mean to be funny can be taken the wrong way, so it's best to avoid joking about sensitive topics at work. Simply put, if you think there's any chance that what you say or do might be offensive, don't do it. If we all do our part, we can get rid of harassment in the workplace, and then we won't have to ask what harassment is.